Well, I would have to say that without a doubt, the challenge of ISIS or ISIL or Daesh or whatever we want to call that group and what it means for the situation in Syria and Iraq is clearly the biggest foreign policy challenge that the administration has. It's not only a challenge because objectively it is a critical problem in the international system, but with the election coming up and in the American political system, it is something that the public is very much engaged in. With the actions in San Bernardino, in Paris, and Beirut, and elsewhere, the people are looking for some kind of way in which the United States administration has established a strategy to address the problem. And so I think that's clearly the biggest problem right now in 2016.
George Little, how do you see it?
I would absolutely agree with Tony that ISIS poses severe challenges to the United States and our allies around the world. In addition, I think we need to bear in mind what Russia's doing and President Putin's actions. He's become more assertive over the past year or so, and I think here in 2016 we could see more of that. We also need to keep our eye on the ball on cybersecurity as well. I think that we haven't gotten our arms around that necessarily as a government or as a country, and we need to put more effort behind finding ways to prevent cyber attacks on the U.S. government and on corporations here and around the world. And finally, I think we need to be very mindful of the fact that this is indeed an election year, and the world is going to be looking to the United States and to our presidential candidates for some signal about where American leadership is headed. And I'm quite frankly concerned about that, given some of the dialogue that we've heard over the past several months. We need to have responsible leadership at the top. Politics used to stop at the water's edge. That's no longer the case, and I think we need to take a clear look at that as a country.
Turning back to you, Tony Arend, to pick up on some of the issues you both brought up, particularly with regard to Syria, the challenge of ISIS, also known as Daesh. At the end of 2015, the Security Council at the UN came together. There was a resolution on the issue to try to solve the problem diplomatically. Are you optimistic about that?
Well, I think the Security Council is only ever going to be as successful as the permanent members are able to collaborate and cooperate. I think this was a good signal that they were able to bring the finance ministers of the Security Council together to look at the financing problem, because one of the big challenges that ISIS has that we haven't seen in other terrorist groups is that they actually control territory. They're able to extort money from individuals. They're able to sell oil. They're able to sell antiquities. And as a consequence, we have to approach them differently. So that was a good sign, but it's only a really small part of the puzzle. We need a comprehensive strategy. I think the United States needs to take a leadership role in working, and I'm sorry to say, with the Russians and with other permanent members of the Security Council, with the regimes in the region, to put together some kind of comprehensive strategy. We just haven't had a comprehensive strategy. The financing piece is a part of it, but we need a lot more. And I think the American public in particular sees this lack of strategy, and that's actually playing into some of the worst rhetoric we've seen in this campaign. My friend Dr. Little was talking a little bit about the importance of American leadership. I think the lack of a clear strategy is actually allowing people on various sides of the campaign to make comments which I think are very dangerous for the future of American leadership.
Indeed, what comes to mind, carpet bombing ISIS, or these types of comments, which are easy to say, but then, how do you really do that? And is that really most effective? I've heard analysts say, really, ISIS, as you said, it controls territory. They make $1 million a day through their extortions and selling of oil. But really, you can't bomb an idea. And so that leads me to ask you, George Little, how do you see this comprehensive strategy? At the end of 2015, we heard President Obama say we're going to really continue with the current strategy, but intensify it. Will that be enough?
Well,
and then you brought also the Russians into the picture.
Right. I'm pessimistic about the chances for a comprehensive strategy to succeed in 2016 when it comes to Syria. I do think that we have made gains against ISIS, and the president is absolutely right. We have brought pressure to bear, and we will continue to do so. And I believe him when he says that he'll intensify the fight against ISIS. I suspect that ISIS will lose some territory in 2016. because the Iraqi army will become stronger. They showed some weakness in 2015. And I think that the coalition, to include the Russians, broadly speaking, will have some effect on their territory. But make no mistake about it. They continue to plan operations, external operations. They will continue to be a menace in the Middle East, and we need to keep up the pressure. But I don't see any signs that the multiple groups, and ISIS is just one group in that region that we have to worry about. It's dozens of groups in that area that I think need to come together at the end of the day, and I just don't see that happening in the near future.